Is that a golf ball?
That is a fucking golf ball.
You're gonna knock my fucking teeth out.
Yeah, that's right. If you open your mouth big enough, it should just bypass the teeth and hit the trachea.
As much as I talk shit, my mouth isn't that big.
Feel like the mini putt courses where it goes through the hole and down the loop and out the other hole.
Yeah, it just comes right out your ass. Yeah, so we got this surprise topic that was just absolutely ridiculous. And I couldn't believe it. I was astonished.
So hold on, are you going to tell us what it is, or are you going to wait and then just surprise us with it during?
I'm going to surprise you guys with it during, because the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do like a quick 5-minute housekeeping on the UAP stuff. And then we're going to go into this story that I have here. Then we're going to go into the D&D in prisons, and then we're going to end with just talking about video games.
Saying during makes it sound like we're having sex, and then you were like,
are you
hold
asking
on,
if I want to have sex?
And you whip out your notebook, and you're like, check this shit out, and then you just start talking about it.
Hey, want to see my comic book collection? Yeah, look over
It's just
here.
like, all right, that's doggy. Now we got to do reverse cowgirl, and then after that,
You just whip it out, and you're like, the history of Genghis Khan.
Want to see my Yu-Gi-Oh collection?
Hell yeah.
You want to play Pogs?
I only have sex with the dual disc on.
I say only have sex if Pogs are involved.
No. Do you know how big the fucking dual disc is? It's fucking massive.
Some Beyblades.
My friend had one when we were in school, and I was so fucking jealous. I actually looked up a couple years ago how much they were because I really wanted to get one.
You're not okay, Melanie.
I fucking love Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh. I never understood Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, what is it? Just seems like Pokemon.
I think I was
That's
too old
kinda-
for it by the time it came out.
Okay, so there's two different Yu-Gi-Ohs technically. There's Season 0, which was fucking off the rails, which never came to the US because what it was Yugi gets fucking bullied at school.
So Yugi's a person?
And Yugi is a person.
A bear. Is it a bear?
No. Yugi is the main character with the tall hair. And he summons the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh just like challenges people to like very one-sided like games where it sounds like they would win, and then he fucking manipulates it, wins, and gets to kill him.
So Yugi manipulates people to get picnic baskets.
Yes.
Okay.
But then the actual show that came here was they play a card game, right? It's just supposed to be a simple little card game. That's all it is. But then it gets really popular, and so this company develops like these stadiums where if you play the cards, the monsters actually show up.
So it's like
because the monsters are
hologram.
Yeah, they're a hologram, but like things like
Tupac.
Yes.
Hey, boo-boo,
Yeah.
this is not real.
Hey, boo-boo,
but like Yugi gets like this pyramid necklace thing from his grandfather as like a gift, and it actually has like a pharaoh's spirit in it, and the pharaoh like possesses him every once in a while to play the fucking card game.
This sounds like a fucking weird spin-off of Evil
And like there's some weird shit, like his grandpa does get trapped in a fucking TV. He's sent to the Shadow Realm, and then his grandpa, they know about it because he shows up in the fucking TV, and he's like, help me.
You know, this reiterates what I told you a few days ago, where you say a lot of words, but none of it makes any sense. I have no idea what you just said. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome aboard to Talk the Plank, and this time, at the start off, we're going to be doing a bit of housekeeping, because I lament that we did not cover this sooner, but we have adult things in our adult lives that we have to do.
I didn't dress skimpy for this. Damn it.
Slut. Yes, Melanie.
How much of that Yu-Gi-Oh stuff is going to be kept in?
All of it. Jinx. So, since I lament that we missed a lot of the UAP stuff, we're going to do a quick recap of it now because we originally were going to do a complete dissection, of the U.S. congressional hearing on the UAPs. But guess what? It's really fucking boring. And
Nobody cares about the U.S.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just a bunch of old people stating, well, they're not all old, but for the most part, just for the sake of this analology, I'm going to say it's just a whole bunch of old people just being like, we need transparency. This is about transparency. We must focus on transparency. That's all it is. It's just, they didn't really say anything that I guess was revolutionary. And what do you guys think?
My summary of it is a bunch of old guys sitting in a room talking to a younger guy, and they're all going to meet on a skiff later. It's literally all it was.
Let us know when they go to the fucking skiff.
Yeah.
That's
It's like, so we have aliens? Well, I can't divulge that information right now, but we can meet on a skiff later.
We're going to have to go to the skiff.
Yeah, the skiff.
Okay, well, what can you tell us about anything? We'll have to organize a skiff.
Meet you on the boat.
I'll meet you on the boat, bud.
Sounds like they're just gonna throw him. Like they're just gonna fucking tie weights to his ankles and toss him into the lake.
Yeah, we're gonna take the skiff out international waters. No one ever heard from David Grush again. So there was a few things David Grush says. I mean, you guys see, I printed off the entire transcript of the congressional hearing. I went through, I highlighted a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, but it all fucking sucks. So we're not gonna.
The fucking golf
we're not.
ball.
Shut up, or it is next. So we're not.
People are gonna hate you.
So we're not gonna worry about it. There was a few things David Grush said that I will mention, and that's he did allude to the fact that he has known people and have witnessed people who have been attacked in order to silence them about whatever information they may possess. What that information is, you'll find out on the skiff. To me, the skiff just sounds analogous to the Dr. Phil Ranch.
Yeah, we're going to Skinwalker Ranch.
That's something that I might like to cover in the future. But in regards to UFOs, we probably will return to the topic in the future. But as of right now, I don't find going through the transcript meticulously to be really of much benefit, because for the most part, it's just a lot of stuff people have assumed that was just more or less confirmed. I think the important thing about the event is that it happened to begin with. What do you think, Mike? You look like you're ruminating over there. Let's hear those thinks that you think out loud sometimes.
I think this is just shit that we've already assumed.
I know. And I think that's why it was kind of treated with a unanimous yawn. I mean, nobody really seemed to care when it happened. It was more or less just the fact that it happened to begin with that people appreciated, I guess. And I feel like this is more or less going to be the impetus for future hearings where you'll actually learn more information. I mean, because the whole UAP, UFO thing, it's just such a nuanced topic, and there's so many different opinions, like we stated in the last 2 episodes. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of those opinions are actually confirmed. What do you think, Melanie?
Why'd this start on page 13?
Why do you ask questions?
Why'd you... Also, I kind of feel bad that you printed all this. I feel bad that we're not going to go through
because
it now.
Because I fucking hate trees. What do? They get in the way. Squirrels live in them, and squirrels yell at you when you walk by.
Why the fuck do you live in the middle of the woods?
Don't tell people that. I live in a suburban neighborhood, gated community.
I live in the large city, actually.
Just gonna adjust you guys here because Melanie especially is very.
Oh, you adjust us.
Okay, I think that might be all right. I think that's good. It's gonna have to do. Don't really care. So if the audio quality turns out like shit, it's Melanie's fault.
You're welcome.
So we kind of have a smorgasbord of topics for you guys here today, because what initially started out as predominantly a video game stream, actually, let's rewind, because I forgot to talk about the Mexican UAP thing, and I don't want to forget to mention that. So, of course, before we move on to the topics, let's talk about the Mexican hearing. What do you guys have to say about that?
Was this the surprise?
No, shut up. Oh. Don't ruin the surprise.
So did they prove that it was just cake?
I just can you imagine getting to the end of portal, and that's what the cake was. Someone needs to mod that in. The cake was a lie. It's the fucking alien cake. I just thought that thing looked like the corpse of Gary Coleman. You know what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
Just kind of looked like they dug him up and put him in a little box. Like, what in the Russell Stoven fuck is that? He looks like one of those Easter chocolate bunnies that they just pulled off the shelf like it was a defective one.
Did they like prove that it was like a biological being? Did they attempt to?
I tried reading into it a while ago. Well, probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And there's just so much contradicting news articles about it.
I don't think.
And it's
aliens.
just it
I don't
does
think
my head
so.
in.
You don't think it's aliens?
I don't think those are aliens. I think
What do you think it is then?
it's probably somebody's fucking mummified kids.
I mean, it wouldn't be
Well,
the
that's dark,
strangest.
man.
Wouldn't be
Like,
the strangest
over
body.
time?
Yeah.
You look at a mummy. Mummies don't look right.
I don't know. My mummy doesn't look right, that's for sure.
Okay, well, behave.
My mummy looks like a drunken drug addict who used to do things to me as a baby. Needless to say, my butthole is great at opening beer bottles. My mom's gonna fucking kill me.
Do we want to talk about this? Is this a therapy
Save
session?
that
Mom's
for a
gonna
few-
come knocking on
I'll
the
get my
door
mom
one
on the
day.
show, and I'll get her to tell all the abhorrent atrocities she committed on my poop chimney when I was a young lad.
Your mom's gonna come in here and she's gonna burn your house to the ground.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about my mom coming anywhere. It's gross. My mom's almost 60, so if she were to come,
You're gonna hate what I have to tell you after this podcast. Then
No, just tell everybody now.
No.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
anyway, I think they sure it could be, but like they look more like little mummified people. If they're even a biological thing. Otherwise, I think they're probably like a man-made fucking like doll.
I gotta applaud you for using little people too, instead of saying like they were fossilized midgets or something. Because
I think it's more likely that they're probably just like mummified like children from like way back.
Watch it be like an amalgamation of just like different people made into like a weird body thing. So
It's
like,
not biological, but
biological.
somebody made dolls out of people. Yeah. They took like chunks of people and packed them together into a people shape.
So they Play-Doh'd people. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
That's the official theory.
I mean, would it be the most fucked up thing that people have done?
Now that you guys mention that, you know what that makes me think of? Maybe it's like a missing step in evolution from Neanderthals to Homo sapiens. So maybe it was like this fucked up little homunculus that
They're always finding new like humanoids that were like way back Neanderthals. And
if you
stuff
guys
like
are
that.
interested in the first step of de-evolution, she's right there.
Yeah,
So do you know what's
we're going back and we're gonna return to monkey.
what's kind
Return to
of
monkey.
fucked up? The museum in Halifax recently had like a biological display or exhibit of the human body. So they had like dead people kind of in like weird poses.
There's a whole museum. I don't remember what city it's in.
Amsterdam?
It's in one of the there's one in Canada.
Oh, okay.
And it's like one of the bigger cities, and they have like a display of like the human body.
Yeah.
And you can also see those exhibits where it's like the human form but only the nerves.
Yeah.
Only
they
the
just take-
genitals. Yeah.
They took like the nerves out of
nerves
somebody
and
and just
genitals,
have
yeah.
them.
Oh,
And it's like in a people shape. Will you shut the fuck up? It's like in a people shape.
Alright.
So you can see like where all
In a
of your
people
nerves
They
run
had that
to.
in Halifax.
Is that where
Yeah.
they had one there too?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That was during
all
the summer.
nerves and stuff. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
I
was
could
so-
not do that. Looking at the insides of people makes me feel yucky.
I like looking at the insides when they're outsides.
Yeah.
You're gonna love when your asshole falls out.
It already has.
But what if those little beings were like an art exhibit back then?
Yeah, like
Just
what
some
if they were-
artist.
What if way back when somebody was like, haha, I'm making little people
This is
as like art, in like
It's just
the
bodies.
fucking 16th century, and then now we're like, alien?
Yeah.
You know,
It's not even made of people. It's made of rocks.
you know what these little homunculus look like? They look like if Maud Lewis tried to do pottery. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's bad.
Right?
It's bad. I'm sorry. Maud Lewis was a national treasure, even if she did look like Walt Jr. Okay. Anything you guys want to finalize with that we can move on to the hard-hitting stories nowadays? Because, there isn't much to talk about going on in the world right now. There's really nothing, no conflicts or anything. So I figure we'd...
Pretty boring time.
Yeah, it's a really boring time. Nothing going on at all.
No.
So I figured maybe we talk about real hard-hitting stories. Pun intended.
Before you go on, I just want to say it's so boring that Israel is so stable right now and Palestine is so stable right now.
I mean, the world in general is
They're
just so stable.
They're doing so good with each other. They're just shaking hands.
What's Palestine?
What's what?
I have
Who?
no idea. I don't even know what she's talking about. Israel.
What's
that's
who?
where that.
Who?
That's
What's
where
where?
that.
What's he
that
talking about?
I don't know.
Jesus guy or something had something to do with the wise dudes. I don't know.
is he
I don't fucking know. I have no idea. You
I don't
guys
even
brought
know
up.
who you guys are.
Who are you?
What am I?
The whole
So-
podcast is just spent gaslighting him.
My whole life condensed into probably 2.5 hours. Woo!
I'm just an image that moves around on its own and sees things. What the fuck?
I'm a hologram. Just like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Thought maybe we're in. That's it.
This
That-
is Yu-Gi-Oh!
That could be another alternate universe. Maybe
play
we're
myself
like
face down.
Maybe we're like alien Yu-Gi-Ohs. We're just Yu-Gi-Ohs to the aliens. All that stuff.
I mean,
So
birds aren't real, so.
Yeah.
then what about the birds and the bees? If the birds aren't real, you
Bees
just got the
aren't real
beads. The bees. Beads?
All hail Gale.
Is it the birds and the beads?
Oh, damn it, I wish it was Thursday.
I know a lot of people aren't gonna get that. So I don't even know if we'll have to do a whole episode based on the Church of Gale and what it is and Last Thursdayism. So for you guys who aren't sure who the Church of Gale is or what Last Thursdayism is, you can go search that up. But we'll probably talk about it at some point in the future because there's a lot of interesting religions
worth it.
that people just don't know about. And it's a fucking
almost,
rabbit
it's
hole.
almost like you could just
It's almost
make
like
one
you
up.
talk a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you could just make a religion up.
Just think, could
That's
you
wild.
imagine if someone just made up a religion?
Hey, man.
That can happen.
Hey, man. We would be tax-free.
Oh my god. That's it. We're going to start up like
Oh, fuck.
Family Guy did an episode where he started the Church of Fonz. So maybe we could start like a church of
Marauderism.
marauderism or
That
like
sounds like you're gonna go and like kill people. It sounds like you're just gonna
no,
go
they're
pillage.
gonna drink the poison and kill themselves. We're gonna have nothing to do with it. It's gonna like jigsaw logic.
It'll be like Dollarama Kool-Aid.
Okay. Digression aside, so we're going to get into the real hard-hitting stories, pun intended. So, the first important thing on the list is we're going to talk about bone smashing.
Why does
you
that sound
guys
familiar?
heard of bone smashing?
That sounds familiar, but I can't place anything about it.
It's when me and Mike mash our pissers together.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. We just like,
So, I usually have this stuff typed out on my computer, but I just found out about this topic last night, and it was so absurd. I was like, I have to include this because this was, like I said, this is predominantly supposed to be about video games. So, bone smashing, if you're wondering what it is, and for those who are also not in the know, bone smashing is the latest in a well-documented pedigree of obtuse, absurd, and outright dangerous TikTok trends. It is the practice of repeatedly bashing yourself in the face with a hammer or other blunt objects in a futile attempt to achieve a sublime facial structure.
That's what it was.
To achieve the desired look, one will subject their cheekbones, jaw, and brow ridge to the aforementioned blunt force trauma to sculpt their face into their desired shape.
So are they trying to look like Eugene?
Oh my god!
Like,
Eugene
what's
from
the
Preacher? Search up arsehole face. You'll see what we mean.
What's the end goal?
Yeah, to me, it just seems like you're gonna come out looking like Sloth from the Goonies. Like, oh, you guys! Like what? And I know it's easy to laugh at right now, but then once I kind of ruminated on it a bit, it kind of gets a bit more depressing. So this whole concept of bone smashing is part of a pernicious culture called looks maxing. That's it. I couldn't remember it.
So you're min-maxing.
Yeah, you're min-maxing your looks, where it's part of this whole process where people are so obsessed over how they look and their appearance that they will actually repeatedly hit themselves in the face in an attempt to mold their form to their desired outcome.
All I can picture.
Why pay for plastic surgery when you could just take a fucking hammer to your face?
Exactly. Go to the fucking hardware store, spend a couple of bucks, beat your face in, there you go.
All I can picture is that MSN animation that you'd send people, and it's just like somebody at a keyboard, and he just like starts viciously hitting the keyboard, and they start slamming his head into the keyboard, and his like eyeballs fucking flying out, teeth are flying out, and it's just like the head just gets caved in. Yeah.
How many people do you think have died because they just hit themselves too hard?
I don't know, and I don't know.
My intrusive thoughts are saying probably enough.
I don't use TikTok, so I'm not savvy with the trends and stuff on there. But to me, this is far worse and exceeds anything that people have done for TikTok in the past. Like, do you remember when things were a bit more? They were just kind of like silly oriented.
Like eating Tide Pods.
They weren't as malicious. Yeah. Okay, even before Tide Pods, when people were fucking planking. Remember planking?
Yeah.
Remember that shit? Why don't people do that anymore?
Whenever somebody mentions planking, all I can think about is the guy who climbed to the top of the McDonald's sign and planked on top of it.
I remember when Hugh Hefner planked and everybody thought he was dead. And then he actually died a few years ago. So.
I remember hearing about that, but I didn't hear about it in depth. Because I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I just scrolled right past it. Like, I haven't seen anybody on TikTok doing it. I remember just watching a short video of somebody explaining it. And I was like, that's dumb. And then I just forgot about it.
And see, this is how I learned about this whole bone smashing thing, as I was watching a YouTube video that covers news. And this came up on it. And I was like, no fucking way. So I just kind of did a bit more research into it, and they do use some science to back their methods. There is some method to their madness. So some perceive this as a derivative of another form of facial sculpting called, with two forms of facial sculpting. So mewing.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Mewing is one of them, which I'd never heard of until I researched it. Do you know what mewing is?
It's not like you.
And Wolff's Law. So we'll get into Wolff's Law first, because Wolff's Law is the science that people use to back this, I guess.
Wolff's Law?
Wolff's Law.
That sounds so fucking cool.
So it sounds cool, but in reality, it's not. It's just So basically what Wolff's Law is, it was a hypothesis that was contrived in the 19th century by a German anatomist, Julius Wolff. His hypothesis was that bones will restructure themselves in response to stress. He postulated that applying force or physical stress to your bones will fast-track bone remodeling relative to someone who does not subject their bones to this practice. According to this doctrine, stress on bones will result in stronger, thicker bones compared to pussies who don't. You know, that's kind of would be a great thing to do when you're an infant, when their heads are nice and soft. You just go through and you just start squishing their little fragile, malleable craniums in. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just bone smashing. Calm down.
Have you not seen the kids who like their heads sit in the canal for a bit too long during birth and they come out with like a cone?
Jesus
Christ. Have you never seen that?
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
No, but...
And then you have to remodel your child's head.
Well, maybe that's where bone smashing could come into play. I don't know.
But like baby skulls are so not developed.
Yeah,
that
it's like, what are you doing to the children? I'm just doing some cranial remodeling. No big deal. Chill out.
Comes out looking like Dan Aykroyd and gonads.
At least they could be a full-time traffic cone when they get older. I mean, they pay people to stand out there with the stop sign. So, I'm just trying to be the optimist. That's all. So, obviously, if you put up this isn't gonna work. But people, they see people on TikTok and people are easily swayed to do things that they probably shouldn't be doing for the sake of clout, or if they really do believe, because people do obsess over their looks to an unhealthy degree, and it's kind of unfortunate that people don't accept what little flaw. What, Melanie?
On the topic of people changing their looks, did you ever see that guy who turned himself into a Korean?
Yes.
And then he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And now he's trying to go back.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
You never heard about that?
His name is Ollie London. And he wanted to become Korean or just Asian in general. But I think it was specifically Korean. So he went through so many plastic surgeries. He doesn't look. It didn't work.
No.
It didn't get him there.
I can't imagine.
Now he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So now he's trying to go back.
It's like, why are people treating themselves like they're a fucking character creator where the technology isn't there yet? Stop treating yourself.
Video games, man. Video games.
You're not in a Bethesda character creation tool.
God, I wish I was.
Just stop it.
You think Bethesda has a good character creation
Starfield's
tool?
was all right.
I didn't try Starfield yet, so.
Well, exactly. So, don't just spout.
I don't play bad games.
Don't spout your inaccuracies.
I mean, the whole world is just GTA, but in real life.
So, obviously, applying enough force and stress to your bone will not do anything. I've been applying a lot of force and constant stress to my boner for a long time, and it has, in fact, not increased in size, girth, or structural integrity. So, that's one...
Mine just bends 90 degrees now.
Yeah, mine just looks like an L. It's just... So moving on to what the concept of mewing is. So mewing is the act of keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth to change your jawline shape. This may actually work, though.
Yeah.
Over a prolonged period of time if you're tenacious enough to keep doing it. The repositioning of your tongue may also help with improving your breathing and focus, but there's not enough scientific evidence to really fully back those claims yet. But some people do stand by mewing. I mean, mewing it sounds fucking retarded, but if it actually shows some improvements, but
I think I watched part of a podcast on that. The guy talking about mewing. He's like tells how to do it, and kind of goes in depth on how to restructure your facial features. So like where over like back in the day, now I'm talking like thousands of years ago, we used to like eat raw meat and just like chew on really tough substances to get our food. So our jaw lines were a lot stronger and our facial features were a lot more like square. And ever since we started like cooking our food and making food softer and over processing
flaccid food,
we're basically getting like we're losing that feature of like a strong jaw, and which is also in turn of why like a lot of people's teeth are fucked up, because our teeth were supposed to be in a space of like here, but now it's like condensed. So all our teeth are just like getting pushed further and further.
I just want to attest to the strength of Mike's jaw.
Well, that's just like that's just like exercising your muscles, right? Like they're eventually gonna look a certain way, right?
It's basically like the softer food you eat over time, your facial features are basically can become weaker because you're not using them.
Yeah.
So if you like chew gum, like for myself, I chew a lot of gum. So, and I have noticed in the past like 10 years, my jawline is actually getting a little bit wider.
Yeah. See,
but
to add to your point, there is some aspect of this that I think people are misconstruing, because when people talk about increasing bone strength or bone density, it's through mechanical types of exercise, like chewing food, increases the structure and bone structure and will remodel your face over time. They noticed that people who play tennis have significantly thicker bones in their arms and stuff than people who don't. I mean, it's mechanical. Those are the types of exercises you need to be doing, not bashing your fucking self in the face with a hammer.
You're never going to achieve something long term in a day.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to take years of exercising that muscle or that part of your body to... I mean, it's like similar to boxers. Like, you get hit in the face enough, you're going to develop like callous skin, and just like the muscles and shit are going to become a little bit more or the bones are going to become more dense, and the muscles going to become more tough. So it's like, okay, yeah, there's a reason why certain people can take a punch from Mike Tyson and still stand for like one or two of them. Whereas like someone like you and I, we take a punch from Mike Tyson, we're fucking dead.
Well, when you think about it, like your bone breaks, right? Heals, and then after so long, your body's gonna be like, well, if this bone keeps fucking breaking, obviously I should just make it stronger.
Yeah, it kind of forms, like Mike said, scar tissues and a callus around it, which leads to the point that I put down here. Does bone smashing work? No, it doesn't.
You'd have to smash your bones a lot.
Long term, I could see it doing something, but...
Do not bash yourself with a hammer.
You're more likely to just become deformed at that point.
All that's doing is you're just creating scar tissue for the most part. You could potentially deform yourself. I mean, we shouldn't have to tell you this. I mean, I'm a fucking janitor, for Christ's sake. I shouldn't have to tell you not to hit yourself in the face with a hammer, because what you're doing is you're sacrificing your mental health for some physical arbitrary gain. I don't really understand what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, what if you're concerned about women finding you physically attractive? What if I had to imagine what women find attractive, because I can attest to you, no woman finds me attractive. Melanie can attest to that.
You have a girlfriend.
She's paid.
Okay.
And even then, she's been demanding a raise. What?
For the bone breaking stuff, is the audience that people see doing it, is it mostly men or is it mostly women? That's
a good question. It's mostly men.
Was not my thought.
This is mostly exclusively a male thing.
So can you like describe it?
That kind of makes
sense. Have you seen this?
I just saw one video of a guy he wasn't like hitting himself hard, but he had this pneumatic type of device that he'd like press around his face and go pum 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 pum.
So he's basically got one of them like dildo fucking wall attachments.
Do they mostly like hit lightly to try and do it, or is it like smashing?
Well, you have to assume that people are going to be smashing themselves.
Yeah,
with a hammer.
But is that what it was?
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, but was that the intention, or was the intention to do it lighter?
From the articles I read, they didn't really go into detail. And I mean, I suppose I could probably pop open a video, and if you want to pop open a video, you can.
I don't really want to see it.
No, neither do I. That was the main video people were sharing of this guy hitting himself in the face, and there was a doctor being like, please stop hitting yourself in the face with hammers. And he's like, I can't believe I have to say this, but just please don't do it.
I've hit my thumb with a hammer, and it fucking hurts.
If you
hitting yourself in the face.
If you got like an abscess in your tooth or something, you need to get that out, and all that's there is a hammer, whatever, I guess, maybe try it, but fuck, just don't do it.
My first thought, because it's called bone smashing, was like the point is to break the bone, right?
Yeah, some people say they do break their jaw, and some of them that I read.
So you would assume they'd hit pretty hard for that, but it sounds like some people do it a lot lighter. Maybe it was initially intended to be something that was done lightly,
and then
people just misconstrued it into I should break my fucking jaw.
That's kind of harkens back to Wolf's Law, where you just keep applying stress to said bone, and then it's supposed to make it structurally more sound and stronger. But I got a law for you. It's called Murphy's Law, and it's one that humanity has dealt with since the dawn of our stupid fucking species since we crawled out of that fucking pond and turned in these anthropomorphic fucktards that we are today. Sorry.
I think you're probably more likely to break your bone, like break your jaw, and then have it heal wrong than have it heal the way you want it to.
Yeah, because there's no exact science to this.
Yeah, like your bone's gonna heal itself, and it's gonna heal itself however the fuck it's gonna heal. Like, you can try and make it heal in a certain way, but there's no guarantee, and you're probably just gonna look deformed after.
There's a reason why when a bone breaks, a doctor sets it in place.
Yeah.
And tells you, yeah, don't move this for a week, or keep this cast on for a month.
And typically, once someone breaks a bone, they're more likely to keep breaking that bone again because the bone has now been weakened.
My wrist, I'm pretty sure the surgeon said at least 7 times it broke before they finally oh yeah, your wrist is broken. Like, we should probably fix that.
Wait, you've broken your wrist 7 times before people realized it was broken?
Oh man, it occurred during a basketball match, and buddy body checked me into a wall. My hand
that doesn't
basically
happen in
went into a
basketball.
wall, and yeah. Anyways, it fucking hurt. Now, right when it happened, I'm like, ooh, something's wrong. Oh, just sit down for a moment. You'll be fine. Okay. Went through the rest of the basketball game. Fucking hurt. I'm like, yeah, something's wrong. Went to the doctor. Doctor looked at me. Oh, you're perfectly healthy. You're like Lance Armstrong healthy. I'm like, okay. It really hurts. Just a sprain. All right. Yeah, fucking. I remember vividly. Nope. They just looked at it. Oh, no, everything's fine. Just a sprain. Christ. All right, cool. I remember vividly playing badminton, and this is very close to when we finally got it x-rayed and shit like that. But went to swing, and I could feel a pop and a hurt. I'd hear a crack and a pop, and it just dropped me. That's how badly it fucking hurt, which must have been the last break. So then I went, nurse practitioner, looked at my wrist. She's like, yeah, I'd probably say it's broken. X-rayed the bone had smoothed itself down to a point where it was just it looked like a fucking pedestal.
I was kind of expecting you.
The roundedness.
I was kind of expecting you to be like, yeah, I played 7 different sports and broke it every single time. And then they looked at it and was like, that's broken.
Probably.
The only thing that I've broken is my heart.
I've never broken
Well, actually,
a bone.
other people have broken my heart.
I did track and field, badminton, basketball.
Nice you guys just completely just dismissed my heartbreak. Just kept talking right over.
Yeah.
You don't have one of those, so I mean...
Whatever.
Sounds like you're just fucking
We're talking
lying.
about broken bones, not broken hearts.
Yeah.
It hurts just the same.
Also, on the topic of when you were talking about people putting the tongue on the roof of their mouth,
Mewing?
I can't let this go. Did you know that some languages, because of the way that they're spoken, you know how normally your tongue rests on the bottom? You know how yours naturally rests on the top?
Ja.
So in some languages, just because of the way that they speak, it rests on the bottom of their mouth all the time.
Yeah, because for me, it's a task to rest my tongue at the bottom of my mouth.
Yeah, naturally it rises up, but in some languages, it just stays on the bottom. Isn't that weird?
Do you usually stay on the bottom?
Kill yourself.
All right, guys, let's move on past this because this fucking I just can't. Bone smashing, don't do it. It's a horrible idea, and all you're gonna do is just probably disfigure yourself more than you probably already are.
Unless you're into that.
Unless you're into that.
I mean, you do you, Bew.
That's right.
Bew.
Bew.
You do you, Bew.
I thought you did. You say that on purpose? Because I thought you did.
Mike had a derp. So the next thing I want to move on to is D&D in prisons. So this is a contentious topic that's been going on for quite some time now, and it was not one that I was familiar with until I just learned about this the other day as well. And do you guys familiar with this topic
It's
at
so
all?
fucking cool. I don't understand why people don't like it.
It's like a new thing in the showers.
I'm gonna cast jizz onto that tight little brown eye of yours.
Dropping the dove.
Dropping the dove. So basically, there's been a kind of an uprising of D&D in the prisons as of late because there's a lawsuit going on regarding. It isn't. I don't think it directly correlates with D&D, but prisoners wanting to engage in playing D&D is kind of pushing this lawsuit along, and it's been kind of getting more news coverage because this has actually been something that's been in the news for quite some time now. So some states do allow the game, while others outright ban it. So to give you guys how far back this goes, one article from 2010 states, and I quote, "It promotes fantasy role-playing, competitive hostility, violence." God forbid. Can you imagine if there's violence in prison? D&D is definitely causing all the fucking violence. Addictive escape behaviors, because when people are in prison, all they think about is wanting to stay in prison, I bet. Oh, and gambling.
I remember hearing that they didn't let them have a dice because it promotes gambling.
Yep, that's what I'm going to get
there
into
is
next.
No gambling involved. You are rolling the dice to determine what number you get to see if your action can happen or not.
No, Steen,
which
you're wrong.
I guess can be a form of gambling because you're does it happen or does it not?
No.
But
No.
that's stupid.
No.
It's not like
You're stupid.
It's not like they're gonna roll a dice and be like, you got a 10? Turns out you gotta give me $5.
The only thing you roll are doobies, you gambling drug addict.
Now,
I think it's all stupid.
Stupid.
I think you should just let them play Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I saw dice in a casino once, and you know what they do at casinos? They gamble.
it's funny that you say 2010 because early 2000s. Are you guys aware of how the media portrayed D&D back in the day?
Oh, so it had to all do with satanic panic and all that shit.
They thought it was the devil.
Yeah, it was fucked.
The devil, that's what the devil does. He plays D&D, and that's how he manipulates
the devil
mortal
just plays
humans.
a fucking
I just remember
role-playing
hearing
game.
news broadcasters talking about oh yeah, if you play D&D, there's a chance that you're gonna get wrapped up in real life role playing of satanic or torture.
It's like if they want to LARP in prison, let them fucking LARP.
Did you ever see there was a movie that was made, and I think it was supposed to be a religious movie where
Passion of the
these
Christ?
two girls go to university. They go away to university, and one of them gets into a Dungeons and Dragons group, and she gets really into it.
That's basically the plot line of Passion of the Christ.
And the other girl doesn't. And it turns out that the whole Dungeons and Dragons group is a satanic cult. And they were they weeded the other girl out and kicked her out, but they kept this other girl, and she got real into it. She starts dressing in black. She starts looking very goth, and it's all just a big satanic ritual.
It sounds familiar.
It wasn't a good movie, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. It was clearly a low budget film.
When I was reading through the article having to do with this, I read through several articles, listened to a video about it. I was kind of in this internal argument in my head, but we'll get into that here in a minute because I'll go through and continue describing how they kind of play D&D in prison and the restrictions that they kind of have to endure. So the prisons that do allow the game to be played make it kind of an arduous task because dice are banned, like Melanie just mentioned, because they consider it gambling, but playing cards are allowed in prison. Those aren't considered gambling for some reason. Fuck, that's great. So that leads them to create these MacGyver-esque contraptions as a substitute for the dice. So that's typically involves makeshift spinners made of styrofoam cups, paper clips and paper, and typewriter parts. Some do away with this altogether, and they essentially just use playing cards where the playing card will correspond to a certain dice roll when they flip the card over. Maps are strictly forbidden due to they could fortuitously mean that it's an escape plan. I don't know that's kind of how they view it. Hand-drawn ones are also subjected to scrutiny, and often they're thrown out when they search the cells and stuff. So, yeah. Hardbound manuals are expensive and difficult to get past mailroom censors. Some prisons still outright ban them, regardless. When they do play, it's typically a highly altered version of the game to accommodate their conditions, since prison does not facilitate the usual long-form games of D&D that D&D is known for, because some D&D campaigns, for those of you who don't know, can go on for decades. Typically, Melanie, you're more savvy with D&D than I am. How long does the average D&D campaign usually last?
I'd say a few months. For like, on average, a few months to a year. Like, it depends on how long you want to play. Like, it depends on the campaign, because some campaigns are short, some are long. It depends on how often you guys have the sessions. And if you made it yourself, you're not going to want to make it. You're going to, like, want to fully flesh it out over time, and you're going to get real into it, and you're going to want them to explore the whole world. And so those ones generally take longer. But I also heard on the topic of the manuals, some people will have their relatives call them and read the manual to them, and they'll transcribe it themselves so that they can have the manual. So that because they can't get the actual book.
Yeah, they find a lot of workarounds, because I guess D&D in prisons is becoming quite popular. And more and more people are kind of engaging in it, which is great, because it does kind of engender that sense of unity that prisons are usually antithetical to, because usually prisons are very
segregated.
Let's just say, yes, segregated. Yes, that's what I was looking for.
I think it's also like trendy in society as well, because it seems like in the past 5, 6, 7 years, it seems like D&D is like the new thing for like most people that wouldn't
comeback,
who would back in the 90s and early 2000s would look at D&D players and be like, weirdos, like nerds. But now it's like cool to be a nerd.
I think anybody can like D&D. You just have to have a specific like world setup that you'll enjoy. But I think anybody could play it, and I think, like, you're in prison, you've got to fucking get a hobby. Like, you've got to do something, right?
I mean, what else are you supposed to do, really?
Exactly. So, like, just make up a world, and then all of these people who normally wouldn't agree on things will join a game. They'll play together. There was a story about 2 of the guys, and they were from, like, rivaling gangs in the prison. And they played D&D together, and they kind of got past the whole rivalry thing. So now whenever something needs to be settled between the 2 groups, they use these guys.
Yeah, I was actually going to tell that story.
Because they like each other. They get along.
Through games, people transcend these racial boundaries or even religious boundaries. I mean, because in the game you can be anybody, and through the game a lot of people exercise their they kind of use the game as a conduit to their insecurities or their traumas, and they kind of express that through the characters, and it kind of lets people bond over a lot of those things, and it lets people to, if you ask me, it's very psychologically healthy to play something like Dungeons and Dragons, because you're exercising so many parts of your psyche. You're interacting with people, you're using your imagination, you're doing a lot of these things that you don't really get to do very often in everyday life, and you get to kind of create these worlds and be these different types of people, and it's a very engaging experience, and I do think it benefits prisons to a great degree.
I think people that say that it's not good because they're like mapping out ways to escape and stuff like that. Yes, I'm sure a very small group of people would actually do that if it was allowed to be, like, if you were allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons and build maps and stuff. I'm sure there's a small group of people who would use the guys so that they could actually plan an escape.
Well, absolutely. It's human
That's going to
nature.
happen. But the overall populace that's going to do it is not doing that. They're doing it to just have fun and have something to do.
Exactly.
You may not like that they're in prison because they've done something against the law, but they're still fucking people.
And they
still have to do something.
They have to reacclimate back to society. And what's a better way than make them play a game where they're interacting with a society?
Yeah.
And if they screw up, they could lose the character that they spent hours creating. You know, one thing about D&D in prison is I'm surprised they're able to create a character before their sentence is up.
There's I saw a guy who goes to like different prisons to see how different countries' prisons are different.
God, he must have quite the criminal record if he's gone
He
between
went
all these.
he went to one in the US. And I think he's from the US, so he has like a better idea of what it's like and stuff like that. But he went to one of the prisons in like a European country, and those guys, there's no walls keeping them in. They live in their own little like houses.
Yeah, you're talking about like Norwegian prisons and stuff.
Like there's minimal guards because these people realize that they did something wrong. And they're serving their time, but they're not subjected to like these horrible living conditions and stuff like that. So they don't need to leave. They're like, yeah, I'm fine here. I can do everything that I'd want to do. I just can't go integrate into society because I did something wrong. But I can still live as a fucking person.
I think for those people though, there's like a slight caveat to that. Is that I believe the place. I think it might have been Norway, somewhere in that area.
Very correct to me, but I didn't.
It was like a suburb area, and they all had jobs and families and shit like that. I believe that they were like low to medium risk.
One of the dudes killed somebody.
Oh yeah.
One of the dudes was a murderer.
Oh yeah. I'm which would be like probably medium risk,
depending on the
because there's like
severity
psychopathic murderers that are just like they just want to see the world burn.
But like, how many people in a U.S. prison are like that, and how many of them just made a mistake or didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah. So that's
were put into these awful living conditions.
You guys hold these thoughts here for just a moment, because what you guys are saying is excellent, but it's going to come into play a bit more down the page a bit. So referring back to what we were saying about how long D&D games take, so essentially, since they're not able to play a regular D&D campaign, they kind of make their own rules, and they kind of make these own campaigns that are for faster forms of play.
When you think about it, though, like, how the fuck are they going to be able to follow the rules anyway? Yeah, because I look at the rules constantly.
That's the thing. They kind of just make everything up as they go.
You don't have a choice. You could try and write down all the rules, but God, you're not gonna.
So they usually play through the bars of their cell, yelling to one another their moves. Yeah, Jesus. Can you imagine trying to sleep and you just hear down the road, I cast Flacicity on Mike's wizard. Fucking like 40 cells down.
Want to cast Fireball?
And that they would actually, what they'd try to do is the D&D groups would try to get their cells reallocated so they'll be within shouting distance to one another so they can easily play. They'd also play in the common room or the rec yard. So probably the most ridiculous thing that may even usurp the dice being banned is completely fucking ridiculous. Dungeon masters are viewed as gang leaders.
I mean, yeah, a gang of fucking losers casting Fireball.
Yeah, it's like
when
they're considered gang leaders.
When you guys were talking about like bringing races together or different groups together, the cynical part of me is just like, man, can you imagine like two groups of people that hate each other? They all want to be elves. So they're like, oh, we're going to be elves. So then they end up working together in the game, liking each other. And then they're like, but we fucking hate orcs. And then there's just like another group that's orcs. So now it's like two groups against one in real life. It's just like, I'm just waiting for that to happen.
And eventually they just end up fighting in real life in the showers, like choking each other with soaps on a rope.
I cast fireball! Throws a friggin' ship.
They all have little, like, paper. You know when you make, like, those little, like, sailor hats out of paper? It's those on the tips of their ears, so they look like they have little pointy ears.
I can imagine, like, did you guys ever play, like, guns as kids?
Yeah.
Like, you just like, run around and be like,
oh,
yes. Oh, gotcha. No, you didn't. No.
I was like, what the fuck I
got you because you're running. Could you imagine them doing that, but in prison? It's like, I cast fireball, runs up, or sneak.
LARPing.
Like,
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm going to roll for sneak, and runs up, shivs them. No, that was a 1.
I'm pretty sure schools in the U.S. play guns all the time.
Also, you're talking about LARPing.
Oop.
Oop.
Yeah.
Wah wah.
Wah wah. Did you just say wah wah?
Bubba booey.
Don't fucking
I mean, is he
start.
wrong?
Come on, let's be honest. So there is an ongoing lawsuit at amending the isolation policies that are currently imposed on prisoners, especially death row prisoners, where I believe they're usually subjected to more isolation than regular prisons, I guess, depending on what level of prison you're in anyway. So one thing to add is that these measures passing is also kind of has pressure on the G7, because people in the G7 and most of the developed world outside of the US view the US's isolation policies as inhumane, because if you think about it, solitary confinement is basically a form of torture. People will go fucking crazy if they are left in solitary confinement. So I don't really agree with solitary confinement as a form of punishment, really. I mean, I can understand if someone is basically animalistic in a way where they're so violent and they're so vile, which there's a few cases I've heard of where a guy was like ate the dick off of another prisoner and then smeared his guts around inside the pen and would try to attack the guards every time they come in, and he'd throw their feces at them, and he would slice his body apart and throw his skin around like he was like, what do you do with someone like that? But
walk him into the field.
I digress from that.
He's going to the ranch.
For them, yeah. He's on the skiff.
He's on the skiff.
When they say they'll talk about it on the skiff, it's actually just somebody trying to uncover the alien secrets and a guy who will eat your dick off and then smear your guts around.
Oh, that reminds me of that scene from Step Brothers when they're in international waters and Rob Riegel's character is like, I guess he eats their dicks off in international waters, and that movie's fucking awesome. So D&D may be the impetus for these isolation policies changing, because a lot of prisoners who engage in D&D are really pushing to be allowed to spend more time in common rooms, or to have prisons facilitate the correct environments for them to be able to play the game and just have fun. And because like we discussed before, there's a lot of proactive means by playing D&D. Which kind of led me to this internal debate with myself, which I believe is very healthy, because usually what happens is I create a couple of points in my head and I'll kind of argue with myself over it and kind of see which way I lean a bit more. So I was kind of arguing with, like, should the game be allowed or should it not? So let's start with, do you guys believe they should be allowed to play D&D in prisons?
I can see no reason why they shouldn't be allowed, honestly. I don't think there's a downside to it, honestly. Even, like, I also want to mention this. If you're super religious and think that Dungeons & Dragons is a satanic game, you could join that game and be a cleric for your god that you believe in.
Yeah, you can play the game, spread the word of Jesus all you want.
Like, you could literally go into that game, make a character, and be like, yeah, I'm just going to spread the word of Jesus Christ.
Listen, Jesus cronies, join the game and beat Satan at his own game. That's what'll get him.
Yeah. You could do that. You can do anything you fucking want.
Can you imagine being like a parent and your kid's like, okay, I'm going to D&D session with some new friends. All right, yeah, see you later. Yeah. Comes home, a little quiet. Oh, how'd it go? Oh, pretty good. No, they're telling me about their characters and stuff like that. And a week goes by, kid comes home with a pasta strainer on his head. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a pastafarian now.
Pastafarian. We worship the flying spaghetti monster. Anything you want?
I think it's a good idea.
You think it's all around a good idea?
I mean,
why?
does it?
Why?
Because you're taking energy that could be put into being fucking assholes to other people. So like when you think of like prisons, like, okay, you got cliques here, cliques there. They usually fight over.
There's usually only cliques in the
shit.
women's prison.
Used to be. So you got cliques over here and cliques over here. And they'd fight, have like quarrels, shit like that. All around, bad time in prison. They get out, people get out of prison. They usually end up doing the same shit. They end up back in prison. Now you're taking that energy and you're putting into socializing, working together, teamwork.
Exactly.
Progressive, like, you're building on to skills that you need in society.
Correct.
Also, think about all the energy that's being put into preventing them from playing this game that could be used somewhere else.
That's what I mean. It's such a vacuous, obtuse response that they provided.
Yeah.
Just like that it encourages violence and get like, are you fucking dumb? Like, what level of cognition are you functioning at, you fucking dildo? How does, like, have you ever been to a prison? All prison is known for is for butt rape in the showers and violence. Like, and you're going to try to blame a fantasy role-playing game where people work together and go on adventures?
Their violence in their imagination.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's taking the energy that could be used in real world violence, or like just nefarious or just bad shit, and you're like redirecting that energy into something good. So it's like, where's the downside to that other than the media blasting bullshit?
Yeah, it's just a vapid response that was vomited out by an inept boomer who has no idea what fucking Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah.
Just let the kids play in their imagination.
Let the kids,
Jesus Christ.
Let the kids play.
Just let them play their game in their imagination.
When we were younger, like, I'm talking like probably 10 to 15-ish. I vividly remember wanting to go play D&D with some friends who are a little bit older than me, like a year or two older than me.
Okay, well, that's not so
Now, at the time, the media was like, oh, it's satanic cult. You're like, kids are dying because of this D&D fad kind of sweeping across the nation and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, yeah, my parents were like pretty much convinced that like, no, you're not doing D&D.
Damn, you could put all of the energy that they put into saying that D&D is a satanic game into not letting people shoot your kids.
But it's the same, like, it's...
That's so much energy that you could put into letting kids go to school and not having to worry about their last thing being math class.
Shut the fuck up, Democrat.
Ryan, you don't want to get into this again. You're going to start crying.
No, I'm not going to get into the debate on guns and stuff because I don't know. Honestly, I think everybody should have a gun. Like, even I think strollers should be sold with like a shotgun holster in it. I think the baby seats.
So you're saying like a minigun.
I think baby seats should come with like miniguns attached to it, twisted metal style. Just everybody, just the more people that have guns, the better.
Press the button, to fucking like 2 turrets pop out.
The only thing I'm gonna say on this is the people who wrote the Constitution lived in a time where you would shoot people. And now we don't, and you don't need it anymore. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a really reductive way of looking at it, Melanie.
They focus so much on what people in the 1500s did and the laws they made.
On a baby that's like James Bond-esque. And he's got like a stroller with like super decked out utilities and shit.
I'm gonna have a child, and you guys are never gonna be allowed to see him.
I thought you were gonna make a baby. I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna make a sketch. I thought you were gonna say, let's make a sketch about a baby in the U.S. and call it like "Baby's First Pistol" or something, where they like take them into a.
I have an idea. Oh
no!
What's the idea?
So dark.
A skit where you have a baby, so you go like you have like a baby shower, right? Like you get all the gifts and stuff, but it's all just stuff like baby's first assault vest and baby's first pistol and all of that stuff.
A baby shower and just like, oh, little Kevlar vest.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We shouldn't have just said that out loud. Someone's totally going to steal that idea.
That's copyrighted. I'm copywriting it.
She came up with it. It's hers.
First day of preschool. Just all of them are just decked out.
All right, we're going to need to
so
start
bad.
making some kids to star in this. Melanie, you start now.
Right.
I guess me and Ryan can make one together. It's totally fine.
We can just like come in a beaker, whisk it together, and we'll just throw it in you.
Wait, that's how it works?
Yeah.
That's how my uncle showed me to do it.
Same.
We're bonding.
Wait, do we have the same uncle? His name Ted.
Oh man, we got way off course, but so I kind of created a bunch of counterpoints, a bunch of points as to why I do believe that this should be allowed. So my first point that I thought of was they're allowed other luxuries, with some prisons even allowing game systems and TVs in their cell.
Yep.
So they're allowed to watch the 24-hour news cycle, which propagates violence on a daily basis, consistently and perpetually, but they cannot engage in Dungeons and Dragons. To me, that is just foolish. Engenders unity amongst rival factions, so something that we've already pretty much thoroughly covered, and the fact that this game does show people how to transcend these barriers because they have no choice but to work together for the spirit of the game. It's Dungeons and Dragons is probably one of the least competitive games that you can play for the most part. Sure, you can make it competitive, but that's all contingent on the player base. I mean, some people you play with, they might make it a bit more competitive, but for the most part, it's like acting in a way. You're just role playing.
Unless you're like, was it the Dark Spawn?
The Dark Urge.
Dark Urge, yeah.
And then you're trying not to cut people's hands off. But like,
I can't wait to play that character.
And like I said earlier, they use D&D characters as a conduit to their mental suffering, and actually it works as a form of therapy to play this game.
Yeah, I play as an insane person every time I make a character.
Yeah, me too. The D&D character we were playing in our campaign, I was someone that every time he learned he had a split personality, he made another personality. So what was I? I was at Lintington von Eldedick the 14th or something, and they would all these different aliases were contesting one another, and they had no idea each other even existed. They would just constantly switch depending on the situation. It was interesting. And
I can fix you.
And like I said, the excuses that they've provided for why D&D is not allowed in prison, it's perfunctory garbage, and it comes from someone who has no idea how the game actually functions.
I can tell you that unless they are searching for a place to go gamble, they are not gambling.
Damn right. I mean, sure.
And even then, like you'd have to be like, oh, let's go to the tavern and hope that the dungeon master says I can gamble.
And not to mention, like I said, they learned very valuable life lessons, because you got to think the people who end up in prison, a lot of them ended up in prison, say, like 18 years old. So if you're an 18-year-old who's spending 25 years in prison, you haven't really learned what it is to be an adult. So when they're engaging in the game, they're learning a lot of these essential life skills like money management and economics, building alliances and making connections with people. That's a lot of stuff that they're able to formulate through the game that they'll then carry on outside of the prison, unless you're on death row. In that case, you're kind of fucked. But any reasons why you guys would think not to allow Dungeons and Dragons?
No, but you also can't be on death row if you eat the electric chair as your last meal.
That's like, holy shit.
Damn.
Loophole. Not all, but what if it's the lethal injection?
Could eat that too.
Yeah, just eat it.
Just eat
Just
it.
eat it.
Just eat it.
Yeah.
So I came up with a few reasons. I only came up with 2 reasons why they shouldn't allow it, but I will say, just for, my argument overwhelmingly is in support of allowing this game to happen. What the fuck do you want,
On the topic
Melanie?
of it propagates violence also. That's like saying... Shut the fuck up. That's like saying that video games cause violence.
Is people okay, let's get this out of the way right now. People are always searching for a scapegoat to explain their hedonistic or violent tendencies. These are all things that are built inside of every human that every human is capable of when pushed to the right threshold. Some people have a higher threshold more than other people.
Mine's so low.
Yeah, Melanie, she stubbed her toe. At least 3 infants die.
Or just Ryan.
No, she hasn't killed me
I'm
yet.
gonna kick the wall
I
later.
can run faster than her.
I don't know about that.
I can run very fast.
I'm also very fast.
I doubt it. Yeah, fucking trust me. I've seen how fast your brain works. If it works anything like your legs, you're not fucking fast.
My brain and my legs aren't the same thing. But also, like, people will... Anything they don't like, they'll be like, that's what causes violence.
Yeah, because people are incapable, or one of the hardest things for people to do is to take accountability. And that would involve recognizing a flaw you may have. And one thing people don't like doing is realizing and facing their flaws, or if they need to take accountability.
You and your hate for women.
I don't hate women, okay? There's just, okay, you know what? We're not even going to make jokes of that.
It's like, oh god, here it comes. But
No way are we touching that. School shootings and everything else we've talked about, fair game.
yeah.
Misogyny.
I'm not gonna go to the next part. I'll tell you about it later.
You can't say that there's an audience listening. What is it?
You're gonna be like, thank God you didn't say that.
No, say it.
No.
Say it.
It's not... I will say it's not bad. It's
You
just...
can't cock tease us like that.
No, it's okay. You'll find out later.
No, it's the audience that I want to find out.
I was gonna...
Uh-oh, we broke her.
You were talking about and other things we've said, and I immediately thought about when I started talking about the moon Nazi.
Oh, Nazi. Good movie. Good movie. So the first thing I came up with as an argument as to why they should not allow D&D, and the reason why it should remain banned is because it promotes Satan. No, it's because it's due time, not play time.
Yeah, I'd say depending on the security level of the...
Okay, but also, if you're going to use that as an excuse, then don't let them have recreational time.
And that's kind of what I said. I said, I don't fully agree with this. It was just kind of, like I said, one of the counterpoints that made in my head. I don't fully agree with it since the skills and life lessons learned and the mental health benefits far outweigh the negative. And like I said, they're allowed TV and all these other sort of amenities.
Yeah.
And if you put someone somewhere where they can't do things that they want to do, like if you say, like, you're essentially saying it's work 24/7 for years. And you know what's going to happen? Those people are going to become violent.
Yeah, it's just you're pushing
That's how
people
you
to
make violence.
You're pushing people to a point where what else do they have to do? I mean, if I use my middle school as an example, it was like my middle school reminded me of like the preschoolers in the show Recess, how we were just like a bunch of tribal, primordial little fucking demons because we weren't allowed to do anything. There was no playground equipment. There was nothing. Even if we were playing tag, they didn't like it when we would do stuff like that. Basically, what we were allowed to do at lunchtime was just sit there. And no, I didn't go to some bougie, fucking sumptuous private school. This was some shitty fucking
Public school.
It was garbage. And we weren't allowed to do anything. And all kids would do was fight and bully each other because that's all there was to do.
On that topic, I would like to say that I went to the other middle school, which was thought of as the shitty middle school because it was where a lot of the lower income kids went, and we had so much more freedom, and we were honestly a lot more well behaved.
And that's the thing. I find that when you let kids be more free and you kind of let them exercise their more independent proclivities, kids will tend to almost respect that more in a way, because regardless of what you tell teenagers not to do, if they want to drink and go to school, they're going to drink and go to school. If they want to smoke pot at school, they're going to smoke pot at school. And there's literally nothing you can do about that.
When they merged the two middle schools together, I saw more issues popping up then, and it was all from the kids who went to your middle school.
Yeah, because it was a fucking disaster. It was basically like every school year was kind of analogous to Survivor. Basically, that's what it was.
I see a lot of like correlation between like the middle school system and prison, I guess, in the sense of like the shittier the environment for the kids and the shittier the role models you give those kids, the shittier the kids are going to become, and kind of like they're not going to be able to integrate into society correctly.
I agree.
Because like for the prison system, I mean, for now to backtrack a little bit, like I agree that D&D, like if you plan on integrating these people back into society, you have to give them roles,
exactly,
and educate them and actually kind of rework their brains into being able to adjust to society, like when they finally get out. So it's like, okay, yeah, let them do normal things. Okay, if you are not integrating these people back into society, fuck those people. Like, just, yeah, okay, if you want to throw them into a corner and just kind of make them live out their time in punishment, okay. Don't let, like, you can keep D&D from those people, because chances are they murdered like a shit ton of people or did like really fucked up shit.
You'd think about that, but to counter that, a lot of the stories I read about people on death row who are fighting to be able to play D&D, they made a mistake when they were 18 where, you know, they killed a person, or in one case I think he was there when a person was killed and still ended up on death row.
Okay, yeah, those are
like there are outliers, and they're not everybody in death row
right?
is like this malevolent psychopath.
It's just up to the judge.
The jury.
Well, that's more
the judge and the jury on like what kind of sentencing you get. So you could, in theory, be put on death row, and all you did was have marijuana on you.
But that's also like, now I'm assuming we're going by the states.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about like different state laws.
Yes.
Because like if you look at some of the states down there, like they don't even have death row anymore, whereas like others are fighting to keep their death row or fighting to have death row. So it's like, depending on what state you're in, will determine how bad of a punishment you get for whatever crime. And I mean, Jesus, looking back, like fuck, even 10 years ago, like people carrying a fucking baggie of pot go to prison for fucking 20 years, and now it's like, oh, you're like, weed's legal now, and like, what about these people? Well, no, he still has to serve his sentence, but it's legal. Like, why is he still there?
Why waste taxpayer money?
Exactly.
Also, it's almost like prison is meant to rehabilitate people,
that's
so
what
that they don't become a repeat offender, not ruin somebody's fucking life and leave them to rot.
That's part of the problem with the states, is that there's dissonance between each state and their laws. So like what you do in one state isn't going to get you as much hot water as another state, whereas Canada, everything's pretty much universal from province to province. But you need to do something really fucking atrocious in Canada to even end up in prison.
But if you commit that illegal thing in the other state and then come back, you're fucked.
Yes.
Like, it's just, and then privatized. You got money involved.
Whenever people talk about, like, whenever people compare the states to Canada, because like Canada has provinces, which is essentially a state. Yep. It seems like Canada is an entire country, and the U.S. is just like, what is it? They have 52. It's 52 states, right? I never remember.
I don't know.
I never remember
50
if it's
something.
I never remember if it's 50, 51, or 52.
I just know it's 50 something.
It's one of those. It's almost like it's like 50 whatever little countries. They don't seem unified in any fucking way.
Yeah. There's 50.
Is it 50?
50.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like they're fucking unified in any way. It from an outside perspective, it looks like they're just individual countries.
Yeah, it's because nothing's really bipartisan when it comes to politics, because you got some states that are all red states, you got some states that are all blue states, and they all have their own different policies and their own different laws, and it's very like
It almost
that's
sounds
why
like Canada too.
when you're a lawyer in the
Like West
states,
and East.
you basically specialize in a single state's legislature.
It's almost like you shouldn't base all of your laws around what somebody in the 1600s said.
I don't know. I'll definitely be checking out this Wolf's Law
When
afterwards.
they were fucking, like, eating dirt and racist against black people. And you owned people. You shouldn't listen to those people to make your laws.
Damn, Melanie, tell us how you really feel.
That's how I feel. You shouldn't listen to people who owned other people and let them tell you what you should believe in.
Well, what if you believe you own people? You should own people.
Then you should go jump in the ocean and forget how to swim.
So we shouldn't buy like Apple products or anything like that.
I just want people to know that no matter what you do, you're like, even if you think that you're helping the environment by driving an electric vehicle, any of that stuff, you're still a bad person because you're supporting slave labor by driving an electric vehicle.
I mean,
I just want you all to know that I'm the only person who should be allowed to own people.
I'll vote for that.
So what you're saying is we're using the gag ball later?
You're going to see us outside, and Melanie's going to be walking us on leashes and shit.
Yeah,
just,
I'm
like,
going to be walking
whipping
my
us.
dogs.
She's going to have, like, Mike and I doing a human centipede as we're walking.
Yeah, we're playing D&D later. Yeah. Oh, I rolled a 1. Damn.
Looks like I have to be the dog
Just think-
today.
Just think, I could be attached to your ass, and we could dress up like cat dog for Halloween.
Mike clenches his butthole, rolls a 1. Uh-oh.
So I figured we'd end off this last bit of the podcast. We have about half an hour remaining, and I figured we could just have just an open discussion about video games in general, because we are quite avid gamers. Well, maybe you guys more so than me now. I used to play video games on quite a regular basis. I still keep up. I listen to video game news more than than I actually play video games now. Because video games used to be my reprieve away from life. Like, it was my form of escapism, that and in movies usually. But now games have become just as pernicious, and it's just, I find the gaming industry is now just a stranglehold by rapacious, greedy fucking corporations that do not give a shit about the consumer. Like, because video games used to be predicated on creativity and creating intricate worlds, and just like, you really got your dollar's worth when you bought a game. Now when you buy a game, you're buying an alpha and the promise of a game. Ark is a good fucking example, because Ark
I will never get over it.
I hate Ark with such a fucking passion, and I will never buy another game from that developer, at least on launch day anyway, but still, I don't trust them. They're fucking snakes as far as I'm concerned.
I'll never get over it.
And this is something that Mike and I have talked about a lot, because what was kind of the catalyst for this conversation, what kind of made us decide was, well, Melanie kind of told us this is what we were going to do, so we just listened to her. And Mike and I were very distraught at the launch of Payday 3. So Mike, why don't you?
Oh, really?
Mike, why don't you?
I haven't heard anything about the launch of Payday 3, but
How?
you are
because it
upset.
because it may have well not have launched. So for you guys who don't know, Payday 2 was one of Mike and I's favorite games.
Trying to like it.
So why don't you give a bit of backstory on what exactly transpired with Payday? He's just trying not to blow a fucking gasket.
So I had no idea that Payday 3 was coming out until like 4 months before it actually released, maybe 5. Very short time frame. So I was pretty fucking excited. I'm like, oh man, like Payday 2, played the shit out of it on PS3 or PS. Yes, it was on PS3.
Yes,
wasn't it?
PS.
Yeah, PS3. Played the shit out of it on PS4. I bought it on Steam. I bought the Crime Wave edition. I bought the game 5 fucking times.
Jesus Christ, it's like Skyrim. You're the
Yeah,
you're
like,
single-handedly keeping Payday 3 developers
I've got
in
it.
business.
PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 again, PC, and then the other, like, all the DLCs for PS3. So I'm counting that as 5. So I bought this, like, I put in quite a bit of money for this game.
He knows his payday.
Fucking love it. Used to stream it. Had quite a few people watching it.
Yeah, you did
like,
quite
watching
well
the
with your
streams.
Payday 2 streams.
Yeah, they were pretty fun. And Payday 3 is just nothing like it. I expected them to. Now, I was also not aware that Payday 2 had a shitty launch.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I got in probably a year or two after it released, I think. So it was in a fairly decent shape by then. Now, man, I don't even know where to go with this. It pisses me off so bad.
So,
like,
basically, Mike was a huge Payday connoisseur, and so was I. I fucking loved Payday 2. Played the shit out of it. Payday 2 has one of the most addictive, formats, I guess, because the way the build craft systems that it has, where you can basically build the character exactly the way you want it, whether you want to lean more into stealth, whether you want to lean more into breaking into the vaults faster, whether you want to focus more on just purely assault tactics, like you could, or like a hybrid of all of them. It was super addicting.
And the hybrids were like fucking spot on, like doing shit that wasn't meant to be done in the game. Like Firestarter. Are you aware of that mission, Firestarter?
I remember the mission, but
It's like the mafia on the airfield.
Yeah,
you got to go into the.
You gotta get the airplane parts.
No, you go in and you either take the weapons and coke, or you burn the weapons and coke.
Oh,
and then like the second part's you break in the FBI building, and then the third part's
right.
Like
Yes.
Yeah, so the very first mission isn't meant to be stealthed. Like, there's no stealth icon on it. It's, you go in, you do loud. I played the ever-living shit out of this game to the point where I was able to stealth that mission and work around, like, kill enough of the guards, work my way around, beat the mission without any alarms going off. Mall Crasher is another one. Not meant to be stealthed. Able to stealth it. Big Oil, same thing. Not meant to be stealthed. Fully stealthable. Just shit that you wouldn't expect a player to do. You have the certain build and loadouts, you can do it, given enough time. And that was the beauty of that game, is that you had no real limitations on what you could do.
Yeah, so basically with Payday 3, they had this excellent foundation. Like, fundamentally, all they had to do was take everything that Payday 2 was and move it to the Unreal Engine 5, because they transitioned from the Diesel engine, which was an in-house engine that was proprietary for Payday. So they moved to another engine. A lot of stuff happened because one of the original owners of Overkill Software, there were two brothers that owned it. One brother departed, went and started 10 Chambers Interactive, which they went on to make GTFO. The other brother stayed behind and then kept working on Payday 2, and then all that controversy happened with Starbreeze, and Starbreeze almost went bankrupt, and basically them creating content and DLC for Payday 2 again was the reason Payday 3 even exists, because Payday 3 development had completely halted because the studios were on the precipice of going under. So they started creating Payday 2 content again. Then when Payday 3 came out, I'm doing air quotes for people that listen, because it was completely unplayable for the first week at least, because
you had to matchmake with yourself.
Yeah, so there is no offline play.
Yeah.
There's no creating your own lobby. You have to connect to their servers, which I have no idea why these fucking invalids keep pushing this always online activity when they are unable to facilitate said online activity. You're fucking dumb. Just stop it. All this is to just wring more money out of the consumers.
Yeah.
It's more unfortunate on your behalf, because you bought the game and you were literally unable to play the game, And we would just sit there and you would just laugh as we stared at loading screens that would never do anything, just these perpetual loading screens.
And then when we finally get in, I still can't believe that for the first stealth. It's like no XP.
Oh, and that's another thing is they
It's
completely
just
did
weird.
away with their build craft systems that they had in Payday 2. I mean, you still got like the weapon customization and everything, but they have completely done away with the intricate build craft systems of your character development that you could do in Payday 2.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea why they would do that, because that's what made Payday 2 so good to begin with.
Hey, let's level up using challenges.
Yeah, so whoever did that was in fact mentally challenged, because who wants to level up by completing fucking challenges? No, you want to be able to do the mission, get your fucking XP points, and then delegate them to the specific skills that you want. But now it's all challenge based, so it's like kill 10 snipers with melee or fucking, I mean, you can't do that, but kill 100 enemies with headshots with said gun, and it's fucking dumb. And it in a game that like Payday 2 that emphasized non-linear play, to now constrain you to certain play styles and force you to play styles that you just don't want to do because that's not the way you liked playing the game, is asinine, and it's fucking foolish.
I seen something recently. I kind of blanking on it because it was late at night, but guy was going through how many times you'd have to play the same match to get all of the challenges, I think.
They are changing it though.
Oh yeah. But I think it was like 900 playthroughs or something like that.
Fuck
through
me.
each level.
What is this, Diablo?
Oh, I know. Like, I think he said like to get stealth on. I think one of the challenges or something like that was like 300 stealth missions on this, and then it was like on that difficulty and this difficulty and the next difficulty. So it's like, wait a second. So I have to do this 900 fucking times.
But it's they are overhauling those systems because there has been such immense backlash from how they currently set up Payday 3. So the one thing Payday 3 does have is its gameplay is solid.
Oh yeah.
Its shooting, its stealth is more nuanced than it was before. There's just no point to doing the stealth. That's the thing. It's like it's easier just to go in and shoot everybody up, take the shit and leave and get the same shit done, basically. If anything,
You're getting more done.
You're getting more done,
because you're completing challenges. Like, oh, you need headshots. You can't do that.
So thankfully, they have a solid base and they have solid things that they can build upon. It's just if they overhaul that progression system, which I guess they are doing, the game does have the capacity to be something much better than it is now. So Melanie, what's a game that really hit you in the old pooter the wrong way? Tell us about that.
Do you like dinosaurs?
Sure.
Do you like playing games where you can craft stuff to survive?
Because fossil fuels come from dinosaurs, and I like fossil fuels. So yeah, of course I like dinosaurs, especially the dead ones that power my car.
Okay. Do you like having dinosaurs as pets? Do you like shooting guns? Do you like building and crafting? Then
T-Rex.
do I have a game that will make you fucking upset? Your blood will boil.
Good. Hopefully we'll boil the HIV out
Ark
of it.
Survival Evolved was a fucking mistake.
Oh my god, yes, Ark. Oh, the tether mechanic in Ark.
Let me just get right into it. All of the problems at Ark. Ark would be a great fucking game if they gave a shit.
Yes.
And the problem is people bought it and people dealt with the problems, and so they never had to fix them. And then they released it. It was in early access. Also, being able to release your game in early access is a fucking mistake. And I will stand by that.
It's kind of set a terrible precedent.
Because it gives a developer an excuse to just not fucking finish the game. Ark was in early development for years. And they never took it out because they didn't fucking have to. To the point where they released it on consoles and they didn't fix any of their fucking problems.
Nope.
The game is buggy as hell. If you have good internet, this game will take like 10 years to install because they don't understand how the fuck to compress a file.
Or optimize.
Like, their file system is so shitty And the game is so massive because they will not compress any of their files.
I do remember that
to make them smaller. It's a massive download for no fucking reason.
Not to mention,
it takes all this space on your computer, and it doesn't have to. If you don't know what compressing a file is, it's just making the file smaller. That's it. So you don't have to take up that much space.
I also want to add that they released DLC for a game that was still in early access.
There are like 6 or something DLCs for this game in early access. And the graphics look like dog shit. You can be in the middle of the day, and if you turn your camera funny, it'll be fucking nighttime.
Oh, so maybe you're just on the equator.
It could be the middle of the night, and you can see the sun reflecting off the ocean.
They're embroiled in a lot of other controversy right now, too, because of the stuff that they're going to do where if you wanted... Well, fuck, it was like... If you wanted the remaster version of Ark or something, you had to buy Ark 2. But, no, it was like they were going to release a remaster of Ark or something, but they were also shutting down dedicated servers for the original Ark, so you basically had to rebuy Ark if you even wanted to play certain aspects of the game. I can't remember exactly how it went, so I'm probably getting some aspects of that wrong, but it was a fucking mess, and Studio Wildcard sucks, and you should not buy any of their video games. Don't do it.
Also, if you're playing with your friend and you don't want to play on like one of the servers that are running, if you want to just play you and your friend, you can, but your friend can only move like 3 feet away from you.
Yeah, it just feels like you're on one of those child leashes.
Yes.
And
you have an invisible leash linking you to whoever is hosting the server, so you can't go places.
Fucking absurd.
You could be like flying to go somewhere because the maps are huge, and you will just get fucking hauled backwards, and it's so stupid. Video games make my blood boil. I don't care about a lot of things, and my brain doesn't work for a lot of things, but it works for fucking video games. The other one that gets me pissed is Blizzard.
No, well,
Blizzard was my favorite company. I was so depressed as a teenager. I put all of my fucking energy into World of Warcraft. It solved so many of my problems, and watching Blizzard go downhill is like watching my father get shot in the head. That's what it's like! Watching Blizzard do all of this stupid shit is like watching my dad punch me in the face. That's how it feels.
God, I'd like to see that.
I'd punch you in the face.
On the bright side, for those of you who don't know, the Activision Blizzard deal for Microsoft has now been done. Microsoft...
Activision ruined Blizzard.
Yes, so hopefully Microsoft will help Blizzard redeem themselves and get... Look, I'm... What the fuck are you snickering at, Mike? Like, that's really rude.
No video game developer is gonna fix shit.
No, probably not.
The problem with Blizzard is they got bought out by Activision and became super greedy.
Super corporate, yeah.
Almost sounds like
Diablo Immortal was a fucking nightmare.
Oh, God, that's disgusting.
If you don't know who Blizzard is, they make the games World of Warcraft, they make Diablo, they make Overwatch, they make StarCraft.
They made Overwatch again.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 was a mistake. They made Overwatch a second time because they wanted to integrate a single player campaign. Made Overwatch 2, it's exactly the same as Overwatch 1, except they, instead of the loot box system, which every time you leveled up, you got a loot box, and you could buy loot boxes if you wanted, they had holiday-themed loot boxes for when the holidays came around, because all of the loot boxes are just fucking cosmetic. Instead of doing that in 2, they made the Battle Pass system.
Battle Pass! Fuck it!
And bundles and shit like that. Everything was just fucking money-based. That's all it is. It's just a big old money grab. And then they found out they couldn't even fucking do the single-player campaign. They said they discovered that they wouldn't be able to make it work. So you ruined this franchise
I don't
for
understand
nothing.
how a company with billions of dollars at its disposal can't make it work.
That's what I don't get.
And then you've got like smaller companies
And
of like
they've made this discovery like a couple months ago. This game has been out for longer than that. They released the game without having the one system that they wanted to have in it finished.
Yep.
She's so passionate about it.
I get so heated about
like,
Blizzard.
Not only this type of person can barely spit out like a coherent sentence
If
and
you
eats
want me to
crayon
fucking-
pizzas, but
yeah,
she can't
like-
fucking...
You're saying what I wish I could say about the whole fucking industry.
Yeah.
The only time I make sense is when I'm really angry.
During the era of the Xbox 360 and original Xboxes, I've always had an Xbox. I know I'm gonna get some heat for
Xbox
that.
360 was a good system.
There's no reason why. I was just I always just had those systems, and God, some of the games that came out on those were just fucking incredible, and most of them were unique. They weren't milking franchises. I mean, there wasn't like a billion Assassin's Creeds and a billion of Call of Duties. Everyone was just kind of making games that they were passionate about making, and now it's nothing but that can print more money. Yes, it's. I don't know why I said it like
All
that,
right.
but
I'm not done.
I love how passionate she is.
preach, sister, preach.
This has become my TED Talk. You're
Hear
in
it.
the audience now.
All right. Let me get this camp. There we go.
All right, welcome to my TED Talk. Today we're going to talk about Blizzard. Another thing that they did, Heroes of the Storm. It's a MOBA. It had so much potential, and they remade it because in the beginning it fucking sucked. They remade it. The remake was great. It's a free-to-play game. You can get things in the game without having to pay money, and they fucking stopped supporting it. He's trying. They had another thing that Blizzard did.
Shut up for a second.
It's wrapped around.
I want
There
the
we go.
camera on you trying to move that.
Oh, it is.
Well, there we go. Let me just.
Another thing that Blizzard did was they were really supportive of competitive gaming. And they would have like Overwatch League. They had Heroes of the Dorm, which was specifically for college.
Yeah.
You would play the game, you could win money. Great. Stopped supporting it. Overwatch League stopped receiving like funding. People stopped being interested in it because Overwatch 2 sucked. Like, they ruined the competitive scene for their games to the point where the only fucking competitive game they have is World of Warcraft arenas. That's it. That's all they fucking got now. StarCraft is old. People still play it, but it's old. And like you could remake StarCraft. People would love that. But you know what they did?
What'd they do?
They
Tell
remade
us.
a beloved
Tell
game
us.
and ruined it. Warcraft 3? A real-time strategy game people fucking loved. They were like, we're gonna remake it. You know what they did? They ruined it.
They fucking ruined
They fucking ruined it. And everybody's pissed.
Why are you pissed, Mike?
They fucking ruined it!
Yeah, exactly. The graphics are garbage. They got rid of, like, you used to be able to make... Thank you. You used to be able to make your own game modes in Warcraft 3. Like, I played...
Oh yeah, the
so many-
Reforged edition.
Yeah, so you used to be able to make all of these games, and they got rid of the ability to do that, essentially. And the game itself just looks like ass.
Whatever. Did they ever do anything with that?
They've stopped touching it. They ruined it by making Reforged and then left it alone.
Can you believe that, Mike?
Can you believe that, Mike?
Okay. Keep going, sister. You're doing great.
I'm trying to think of what other
Keep
games
preaching.
they have.
You're doing so good right now. I'm so proud
I'm
of you.
trying to think of their other games now.
You-
World of Warcraft is still a fucking national treasure. Nobody will change my mind. Sure, they had some bad expansions, but you'll get over it.
Are they ever gonna make
Cry
a
me a fucking river.
Are they ever gonna make a Galaxy of Warcraft?
No, because the galaxy doesn't fucking exist.
So no Galaxy of
Sure,
Warcraft.
they did, sure, they made some questionable choices with World of Warcraft, but they repealed them. It got better. StarCraft is just their abandoned child. Like, StarCraft is if fucking Dumbledore left Harry Potter on the Dursleys' doorstep, but the Dursleys were on vacation for like 2 months. That's what happened to StarCraft, except the Dursleys also just didn't decide to come back.
Yeah, you see, like... Oh, God, how do people do selfie sticks? See, people have... StarCraft, Blizzard, they have so many well-known franchises, and they have basically what are like a million cash cows that could each print $1 million each, which is like a lot of millions, but they don't.
Hearthstone's pretty good though.
They don't actually.
They don't. Very comfortable.
Thank you. They don't take advantage of that, and I'm hoping that once Microsoft comes into the fray, that they'll start dumping some money into these franchises, because StarCraft. God, my nose looks so fucking big from this angle, and it's making me sick.
Just sit down.
They have all these franchises, and Blizzard currently isn't doing anything with them. So I hope that Microsoft will inject the much needed cash and the much needed leadership required to get some of these projects off the ground. And also, I'm a huge advocate for Game Pass, because with the state of games coming out now, to me, it's just so pointless buying a game. Like, the game industry has actively ostracized me as a consumer.
Because you're poor.
Yeah, because I'm not someone who like plays video games 24/7, but in my free time, yeah, I like to sit down and fucking play some games, and that's typically why games like Payday appealed to me. And I've been addicted to Darktide again, but Darktide, I bought the special edition of that shit because I'm a fucking idiot. Because when that game came out, it was a fucking dumpster fire too, and didn't work, and I spent a lot of money, and here we are once again. I mean, it came out on Game Pass, and they fixed a lot of the game. It runs great on Xbox, surprisingly. So I've basically just switched over to be predominantly playing console, and I was definitely somebody who preferred to engage in PC gaming. I was always predominantly a PC gamer once I became like a real man with pubes and everything, because only little boys typically play console. And so
you're looking at me very passionately.
You had your bat mitzvah and you were like, oh, it's time to play a computer game.
The way I'm sitting right now, I have no choice but to look at Mike directly in the face and
look uncomfortable. Or comfortable.
What do you have, Dad, Mike?
Aaron and I recently
tried
out some of the...
You guys wouldn't know who Aaron is because he doesn't just show up.
He was here for the St. Anne's one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so proud of him.
So we were playing some of the demos.
It's because I'm a girl and he doesn't want to be near girls. Go on.
For the Steam Fest, or whatever the fuck it's called. The demo week or whatever for the new games coming out. Yeah, so we tried multiple demos. Now these games are releasing in like a week. Unfucking playable.
Really? Seriously?
Oh yeah, seriously.
Like what?
Unfucking playable. And that was just me and him, like the games that we tried.
What games did you try?
Come on, Mike.
The one that kind of worked, Daemonium. We were basically trying to play like more Phas games or Phas games.
Phasmophobia for you viewers.
I find the games that are most likely to
like, hey bud,
makes me laugh. I find the games that most likely take up most of my spare time when I do indulge in the video games. And it's games like that where you don't need to sit down. They're not these massive, expansive worlds like Starfield, for example, or like these very long, complex games that require you to dump thousands of hours in and follow the stories. It's like games like Payday and Phasmophobia and Darktide. You can just jump in, play a couple of matches, get your nut, and get out. You know what I'm saying? It's addictive. You don't. It's like it's all focused on gameplay and your character, and of course there are some story elements sprinkled in too. But it's games they can just easily stop playing for a while and come back to.
Nice. That was a nice touch.
Thank you. That was like the period.
I have something else
Like
I want to mention.
like the proverbial period.
I mentioned it briefly, and then I kind of forgot about it.
Oh, she's back.
Diablo!
Fuck.
You guys are...
Oh!
That's my crotch. Don't look there. I'm a lady.
Don't worry, I didn't see any cancer.
I actually went and had a test done for that. Thank you.
Yeah, it tasted good.
Anyway, Diablo Immortal, when it came out, was a pay-to-win fucking garbage fest.
Sure was.
Somebody did if you paid into it, you could basically steamroll the game. If you didn't, a guy did a test on like how long it would take to get things that you could just fucking buy. It was years.
Yeah,
like 90 years.
It was absolutely absurd.
Stupid. It also was coming out on the phone, and at their like conference where they announced it, the guy presenting had the audacity to say,
Do you not have phones?
You guys have phones, don't you? I don't want to play a Blizzard game on my fucking phone, okay? I'm going to play Sudoku, and I'm going to play my logic puzzle games, and that's it. Okay? I'm not going to play fucking World of Warcraft on my cell phone. That's stupid.
Sounds like somebody doesn't have a phone.
It's right fucking here. I sit on it constantly. I'm chronically online. I don't want to play a game on my phone. Diablo 4 came out. That was a nightmare for people.
Okay, can you explain that? Because I thought Diablo 4 was really good when it came out, but I don't... Like, can you provide some context on that? Because I'm a kind of a layman when it comes to this.
The big problem with it was they had a battle pass system. And if you bought a specific version of Diablo 4, you got to get one battle pass for free of your choice. You just had to wait for that battle pass to roll around because they're on a cycle, right? Like they're every so often, and they'll switch it to a new one.
Like menstruation.
Yes. So we'll estimate a battle pass lasts 60 days, and then it's gone, and then they'll put a new one up, and it'll have new stuff in it. I'm pretty sure they call them seasons. I didn't get Diablo 4 because I didn't want to be disappointed again by my father.
Oh, okay. Speaking of a gaming controversy that we didn't bring up, hold on one second, guys.
Can you keep it in your head? I'm almost done.
Fuck.
I'm so
Keep
close
going
to
while
being
he's
done.
distracted.
So, they put the button to buy the battle pass in a shitty spot where people would accidentally buy the battle passes all the time.
That's genius.
And people would accidentally use their free battle pass on a battle pass they didn't want because they would click it by accident because there was a pop-up that would come up. You'd press on the pop-up, and then that button was right behind it.
That's genius
and then they
capitalism
were like,
right
you
there.
can't refund this free battle pass we gave you. You can't get that back. You spent it, it's gone. You can't refund the battle pass if you just bought it by accident.
So it's just like you click on it, no prompt. Like, are you sure?
Nothing.
Wow.
There was no prompt to say, are you sure? So it would just go through.
It almost sounds like the rest
It
of
was
the
on
industry.
purpose.
Capitalism.
They did it on purpose where you would press it. There was no, are you sure you want to buy this? And it would just go through. And I saw a video of a guy, he thought that he was able to cancel it before it went through. So he was like, okay, good. And then he went back in and it fucking went through. It looked very much like it didn't have time to process and that he canceled it. And then it just fucking didn't.
No, it's Blizzard's money now.
And, these things aren't cheap. Well, they are, but not if you're getting fucking conned constantly by it. Right?
How cheap are we talking?
Well, usually a battle pass is $13 on
Okay,
average.
so it's like Rocket League battle pass and not like fucking Destiny seasons.
Battle passes are generally the same price through different games. So... if you spend $13 one time, it's not the worst, except if you didn't want to spend that $13 and you didn't have $13 to spend, or if you just keep doing it by accident because they just make it so that it's so easy.
Okay. One final controversy, and then we'll end it off. Are you guys aware of what's happening with the Gollum game? Have you guys heard of that?
I've heard you rant about it before, I think.
So Gollum is
a treasure.
It's going to be one of the worst games rated of the year, easily. The game is a fucking disaster, released in a complete mess.
Do you know why it was a disaster?
Oh, yeah, they the people who were working on the game, it was a very noxious work environment where they were subjected to crunch and various other frowned upon policies.
The company that was assigned to make the Gollum game specialized in point-and-click games.
Yes, that as well. And then they were tasked to create a AAA game with a quarter of the budget, with like a quarter of the staff required.
And it's an RPG.
So when they released the game, it was a fucking disaster. And the game barely worked, of course. It looked like shit. It played like shit. And it was just a gross game. Icky, gross. Like Golem's fucking dick that
also,
you somehow never
Also,
see.
if you have no idea what the price of a video game is in Canada, it's $90.
Yeah, $90 for...
Actually, when they bumped up the price, the base price is $90. Before, it was $79.99, but if you lived in any province, the taxes into that were $90.
Pretty sure Konami just did a price increase, which should be
all
coming...
games got a price increase,
like
basically.
Within the last month.
For
like all games in the US got a price increase to $70, and we don't pay US prices because the exchange rate isn't 1-to-1.
Our economy sucks.
Go ahead.
So, to apologize for this, they released, the stereotypical fucking splash screen where they're like, this product is not up to our players' standards, and we apologize. It was, just the standard fucking meretricious garbage that game companies will shit out when they release a terrible product.
I would have accepted if they had just said, we don't make this kind of game.
Yeah, they didn't make the apology. ChatGPT did.
If you had just...
They got ChatGPT to write the apology.
What?
Yes! They didn't. That just came out. That's why I wanted to talk about this.
If you had just said, we tried
That's awesome.
If you had just said, we tried to make this game, this is not our specialty, I would have forgiven them. I wouldn't have forgiven losing $80. I didn't buy the game. But if I had, I wouldn't have forgiven me spending $80 on it, but I would have forgiven and said, you know what, they tried something, it didn't work, it wasn't their specialty.
They couldn't even apologize properly. Like, hire a Canadian to do your apology. Anything. Don't fucking get ChatGPT to write your apology.
Also, AI is a mistake.
Because they called it, in the apology, they referred to Lord of the Rings as Lord of the Ring. And that's how people...
I remember seeing Lord of the Ring.
And that's how people caught on. They're like, that you made a Lord of the Rings game and you called it Lord of the Ring?
Well, I mean, if you had misspelled it and somebody didn't double check it later, but...
Like, they don't exist anymore, and that's probably for the better because the incompetence... They were
supposed to make a second one.
Yeah. Please don't.
Like, was that before the first one released or after the first one?
Gollum's been...
After, I'm pretty sure.
How?
Gollum in these prices have been just fucked.
It was not their... They were not the ones who decided to make this game. Yeah. It was forced upon them, and they didn't have a choice. And now their studio doesn't exist.
And if there's anything, it's never good when things are forced upon you. If there's anything we've learned from St. Anne's.
Yeah.
Not good.
Exactly.
Never a good outcome or income.
Yeah. Also, I would like to say that AI is fun to play around with, but it should not be used to take people's jobs.
I love Midjourney. It's so funny.
What's that?
That's one of the AI chat things.
Oh, yeah.
Not AI chat. Duh, I'm having a fucking dirt moment. It's an AI image generator.
Have I showed you the videos?
I think... No, I don't think you did.
I think...
Oh, we're going to watch one later.
Okay.
When I get home, I'm going to fucking put on... what the fuck was it called? It was like the Smurfs, a space odyssey of a Smurf or something like that. It's fucking hilarious. And it was all just rendered by AI. Have you ever watched those explainer videos on YouTube where it's just like really fast images?
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Kind of have something to do with the topic, but not really. And the voice is just a little off. Yeah, those fucking people making these videos are using this shit to just pump out
content
garbage
every day.
Well, there's one guy there is one guy. Cobblecop?
Gobblegob? Is that a chicken?
I think
Gobble,
his name-
gobble, gobble,
No, it's like Cobblecop is a YouTuber. And he has transitioned his entire channel to be AI only.
Yes. I
It's
remember
all
hearing
AI.
somebody was talking about that.
He
yes.
and like he streamed and it was just an AI playing the game.
Yep.
Like all of it is AI.
Even him.
Yeah,
Isn't it
like him
he's
himself is
fully
AI.
now?
He's not involved in it at all. It's completely AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting out of control, and I'm pretty sure some legislature is going to have to be brought in to kind
I
of keep
think-
some of this, because it's going to get ridiculous in the copyright, and you got
Yeah.
to think of people's, like, think of what it's going to be like to bring back deceased people to act again, and
Yeah.
deceased, they're going to be using people's likenesses. This is going to be a whole other layer of identity theft.
Yeah.
But-
AI is fun.
It is
It's fun to mess around with.
It is.
It's not a replacement for an actual writer. It's
No.
not a replacement for somebody who actually will make art for you.
The thing
It's
about
not a replacement for making a video game or having an actor.
the thing is about the writing thing is that part of the things that makes written stories so good is that the human writing them understands and knows how to convey emotion.
Yeah.
You can't have something that
Emotion
is-
in the context of
Yeah.
what you're writing. Yes.
when it comes to AI, they know, like, an AI can tell you what an emotion is, but it can't convey that
Yeah.
to the paper, which makes it a lot of it is just nonsensical and it's very difficult to relate to, and most AI stuff isn't that great, but it is going to get to a point where it's going to usurp human capabilities eventually and probably become
One thing-
sentient. And
Could you imagine an AI trying to tell like jokes at a comedy club? Holy
I think
fuck.
I've seen somebody.
and how
like, ask
about
them
that
to
airline
tell-
food?
I think I've seen somebody ask them to tell jokes, and they were so simple. It was really
Well,
funny.
I'm going back to like the context of emotion. Because
Yeah.
like what the fuck's the guy's name? He's on all the podcasts with the
Joe Rogan?
no he's fuck.
He fucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that they always joke he looks like he's got Down syndrome?
Jimmy Carr?
I believe is from no, he's American. I think his family's from like South Korea. The fuck's the
Dr.
guy's name?
Ken?
No, fuck. Anyways, this guy's telling a joke about his taking a shower with his kid. and he's like, oh yeah, so my son looks down and he says, Daddy, why are you so big and I'm so small? And he just like goes from there and he just keeps escalating to the point where it's just, like uncomfortably funny. And you can tell like the whole audience is just like nervously laughing, like, oh damn, he just said that. Could you imagine a fucking AI like saying the same shit?
That'd be
Because
so
they wouldn't
funny.
it wouldn't be able to be like there's no emotion or context.
Yeah, but they
to
can.
what it's saying.
Humanity will definitely instill filters because, like ChatGPT, it's very limited as to what. Like, you can tell there's a lot of constraints imbued in it that don't allow you to get too inappropriate, which is unfortunate. I wish somebody would just create like a full-on whatever the fuck AI, whatever you want to tell it to do, whatever you want to say, regardless of political correctness. Fuck it. Just I really want to see what it could come up with.
Well,
Have
that's
you-
the
But-
other thing about. Hold on. That's the other
But-
thing about AI in terms of writing and
But-
stuff. They can't make original content because the AI takes stuff that's already been made.
Yeah, that's how I passed school. I did that too. No,
Have you heard
AI
about the
didn't exist then.
no, I
you
mean
heard
I
about-
would just steal people's stuff. And,
Oh.
plagiarism
yeah,
or theft?
Yeah, plagiarism. That's it.
Plagiarism. Have you heard about the journalist who basically formed a relationship with ChatGPT?
There's a lot of people like that. That's
There
actually
was a whole AI that was purposely made to just.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm
Dateable.
talking like when you're on ChatGPT and you're asking it like certain
Replica.
questions, it'll just give you a generic
Yeah.
pre-made
Yeah.
answer. Supposedly this guy was able to somehow cross this boundary where the AI actually gave itself a name
Interesting.
and would be like seemed excited to talk to him.
That's interesting. I want to try that.
I can't
also,
remember what the
Replica,
fuck-
they used it for dating and then they shut that shit down.
Yeah,
and a lot of
that's-
people got real lonely.
There's actually a whole. The reason why we're gonna put the kibosh in this right now is because a whole future episode is gonna be dedicated to artificial intelligence it's going to be us talking, a whole bunch of people who don't have any intelligence talking about artificial intelligence. So that's when we do that episode. I don't know. We kind of just think of episodes like a couple of days before we film these, and then I just kind of jot some stuff down. But
I mean,
hopefully I've developed a relationship with ChatGPT.
You're going to develop a relationship with my fist.
Do you know what sucks
if you
about that?
Keep this shit up.
They only give you a certain amount of words.
Really?
Yeah.
Like total?
Like if you're not subscribed, they only give you a certain amount of words before it's just like, oh, you have to wait. You have to wait a certain amount of hours.
It's a tax write-off.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, as a bit of final bit of housekeeping, we do have a few more projects in the works. We actually had a little bit of we got together on Discord a little bit ago and started writing our next project. So because we really want to get back into making videos, and we have a few major ideas. Like there's Mike's idea, but we're gonna do something involving some cooking. We won't divulge we won't divulge exactly what that project is. That one is gonna be fun to do. We got our next more sketch-based thing written out, which is gonna be the next episode of Plunder Blunder, because we're bringing that back, bitches. Because part of the problem, a very difficult thing when it came to Plunder Blunder, was figuring out a way to make all the elements click together, because it's like a scripted, non-scripted. A lot of it's improv. Some of it has like scripted elements, but it's also an unboxing, but it's also a sketch show. So it's all these things that are trying to work together, and that's kind of something I struggled with in the first 2 episodes, but I think us all working together on it, I think we finally just found it just feels right. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And then we have another sketch that we have just started formulating that we're going to work on at some point, because Mike's going to be a doctor. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Hey there, buddy.
Mike's a doctor.
There's also another sketch where there's a child and
Oh,
there's a baby shower and
okay. Okay. I thought that we were going. I was like, when did I tell you about the file?
Yeah, because Mike has another one involving children. Do not look at any of their don't look at any of their hard drives, or you guys will find out what it's gonna be like. Oh man, you guys are gonna find out what it's like to play D&D in prison if this continues on. But anyways,
making
guys,
friends.
Yeah,
free rent,
shower
free food,
cuddles,
free education.
That's right. Free housing.
You pay for me to live.
All right, everybody, I gotta go drain the slut snake. It's been a pleasure as always. Do you guys have any final comments?
You looked like you wanted to say something.
No, I don't think I have anything to say.
Good, because I didn't care anyway. Thanks, guys.
Me.
Thanks for coming aboard.